I was just down in Bristol over the weekend walking around, and it's almost like a snapshot in time every single year. I haven't been down in a while, but this year, you felt authentic energy and enthusiasm on the streets. And that's going to culminate at the 4th of July in a lot of different locations. And it's a great opportunity to check in with our Secretary of State, Gregg Amore, and talk about Rhode Island's revolutionary history. Now, a lot of people, some of the stuff we're going to talk about today, this is common knowledge, but I think for most people, it's surprising Rhode Island's role in shaping the climate and even just the early energy around what the United States was. So, Secretary, again, welcome back to the show. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate you having me.
What jumps out to you right now as it's almost like peak season for a lot of what you've been working on with the 250?
It is. And I felt that same energy at the Gaspi Days parade, just a kind of a different energy. And I've been going to that parade for years and years. So we see the enthusiasm, Bill. We have displayed one of our copies of the Declaration of Independence in, I think, 7 locations thus far. And in each case, there have been hundreds of people. In the case of East Greenwich, 400 people in 2 hours that came to see these unique, rare documents that express who we are as Americans. And for people to connect with those on beautiful Saturday mornings or Saturday afternoons where they could be at the beach or elsewhere, the fact that that's received so much attention and the ability for Rhode Island to produce these rare copies and make them accessible to the public is unique. That is not happening in many places. And that's a great opportunity. And there still are more opportunities for Rhode Islanders to see one of our 3 copies or all 3 copies at the State House on July 4th.
What was when were you on site? I vaguely recall that you were actually in Washington during some of when that State House event was happening. But were you able to be there for when people and get immediate reaction from people as they saw the declaration?
So I was in Washington for another event, but I was here. I've been present at the showings of our declaration copies, and people are very enthusiastic, not only to see the copy, right? They want to take a photograph, and you can take photographs as long as they are not flash photographs. But then talk about what is this copy? How do we possess it? How is it being preserved? Those are questions that are asked all the time. But for young people, especially kids who are 10, 12 years old, they're seeing that for the first time. We have displayed the act of renunciation a number of times as well, and that gets the same type of enthusiastic response.
What jumps out to you as a starting point for somebody who says, look, I have no idea about Rhode Island's revolutionary history. I don't know anything about Rhode Island's history. I'm starting from scratch. How do you orient them as to where they are and what it means?
Yeah, I think you have to talk about the Gaspi incident, Gaspi affair, because that is the first shot in anger fired in the American Revolution based on British policy that Americans, Rhode Islanders, had no control of, no consent. That's the essence of this revolution, right? The people give their consent for the government to act. And in this case, Rhode Island was responding to what they believed to be unfair policy, tyranny, acted upon without their consent. And that is the theme of the revolution going forward. And I think what most Rhode Islanders don't or not aware of, and I think too many around the nation are not aware of, because of the Gaspi incident, the committees of correspondence formed. And that is the first time the colonies get together. Of course, it's through written letters, correspondence, and discuss strategy around pushing back at those tyrannical policies and perhaps defending themselves from them. And so that's a monumental occasion because of what it led to, and because Rhode Island led the way in physically pushing back, burning a ship, shooting the captain, removing the crew. It's really an act of defiance, a revolutionary act. And so I think you'd start there, but there's so much more when we talk about Rhode Island's role in the American Revolution.
Yeah, some of those, again, it's so wide, and I wonder how to even enter this conversation. Really, there's so many different angles. I think of, you can look at it through just the lens of the revolution itself and We can go to Portsmouth, and we can go to the pick your spot, I guess. What
Yeah,
comes
so
next?
Bill, one of the reasons that Rhode Island was so deeply invested in the Revolution is that our colony was so unique. The Royal Charter of 1663 provided self governance in a way that no other colony had. We did not have a royally appointed governor. We elected our governor through the legislature, but we had really a self governance in Rhode Island that no other colony had. And because we were so independent and because we governed ourselves, um, when these restrictive policies were being implemented or really being enforced because they had been implemented for decades, we pushed back hard because it upset our sense of self governance. And that's why so many of the revolutionary leaders in the early republic were Rhode Islanders. And I tell people this all the time, and they don't realize it. When you look per capita at those that fought on behalf of the Continental Army, Rhode Island ranks third. It's Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, not New York, not Virginia. We were invested in this effort in many ways. The United States Navy formed at the behest of the Naval Council, Second Continental Congress, led by one of our signers, Stephen Hopkins, appointed his brother, Esek Hopkins, as the first commander of the Continental Navy, soon to be the United States Navy. So there are so many connections to the American Revolution and the impact that Rhode Island had upon it. And I think the Rhode Island 250 Commission has done a good job, despite some narrative about tall ships. They've done a really good job of showing Rhode Islanders their own history across the state. Almost $500,000 in grants to historical organizations, cities and towns who have been able to produce programming that tells this story in their backyards.
Yes, and that was actually going to be the next place I wanted to go to here in this discussion. I'm looking at a guide that really showcases not only celebrations, but a lot of the programming that's happening right now around the 250. And I think about just walking around Newport or walking around Providence or Bristol, frankly, all of Rhode Island, but particularly those places. When people are going out to events, maybe they're going to Newport for the fireworks or Bristol for the 4th of July parade, or they're at the RI 250 Commission water fire evening celebration, something like that. What should they be looking for from a physical geography standpoint that jumps out to you that can help take that story and bring it into physical brick and mortar real life?
Well, the Colony House, for sure, in Newport, historic location, also houses the Gilbert Stewart.
As Rhode Island's first ever member-owned credit union, Navigant Credit Union has been a staple in the local business community for more than 108 years. Today, Navigant is a $3.4 billion institution serving more than 136,000 members across 25 physical branch locations. But since its founding in 1915, the mission has never changed. Navigant Credit Union's team of financial professionals have remained committed to improving the financial well-being of the families, businesses, and communities they serve across Rhode Island. Learn more at navigantcu.org. Bartholomew Town is proud to partner with Waterfire. Visit waterfire.org. Half Street Group brings a new generation's perspective to leadership communications, strategic public relations, and digital marketing. Half Street helps organizations and leaders take control of their own stories and manage their reputations. They get results for their clients by focusing on audience message and culture, and by leveraging their decade-long relationship with media and opinion leaders in the Ocean State and throughout New England. And by the way, join me and Half Street Group founder and president Mike Rea for a conversation every month about news of the day, the hottest media analysis, and a look behind the scenes at how impactful leaders drive conversations. Learn more at halfstreetgroup.com. Bartholomew Town, proud to partner with the University of Rhode Island Online. Are you ready to take the next step in your career at URI Online? They offer business and leadership-focused programs designed to fit your life. Whether your goal is to advance your career in fields like public administration, supply chain management, or training and development, their online programs provide the flexibility you need with a high-quality education you deserve. You're going to learn from experienced faculty and collaborate with a network of professionals, all from the comfort of your home or wherever life takes you. Visit uri.edu/online to explore programs and start building your future today. URI Online, learn anywhere with us. Bartholomew Town is proud to partner with Newport Film. Visit newportfilm.com. Follow me on Instagram at Bill Bartholomew.
Painting of George Washington, one of the three Lansdowne portraits, where the Declaration was read aloud right after it was approved and sent to the colony. Really, really powerful. In fact, the Newport Historical Society does a great job of maintaining that building and telling that story. I would suggest people stop in there. Rosecliff has a fantastic exhibit on Revolutions Reimagined, tells the story of America in increments of 100 years. Fantastic display, and Rhode Island centric. In Providence, you have the old State House. Again, the Declaration read there, voted upon by the General Assembly. The Act of Renunciation voted upon by the General Assembly, right in that room that Rhode Islanders can visit, just down the street from Stephen Hopkins' house, one of our signers. And by the way, Stephen Hopkins was a major player. He is a founding father, with at the same level of Jefferson and Adams. He wrote a pamphlet in 1764, The Rights of the Colonies Examined, that made the case for no taxation without representation. When he walked into the hall in Philadelphia, every one of those people knew who he was and respected him because he had been making the case for at least representation, if not independence, and he did call for that sooner than most. Far longer and far more previous to some of the more well-known founding fathers. Well, his home is preserved here in Providence, and people can visit that. There's a treasure trove. Nathaniel Greene's home is accessible in Coventry. Nathaniel Greene is the hero of the American Revolution in regard to battlefield prowess, an organization to save the military because it was not being supplied correctly. He is a fundamental figure in the success of the Revolution and George Washington's right-hand man. You can visit his home. I mean, these are places that are accessible to Rhode Islanders within a 20-minute drive, where they can learn so much about these historical revolutionary figures and their flaws and faults. These are imperfect men, as all the founders were, and they were faced with the same dichotomy as the founders, right, around slavery and making money through the transatlantic slave trade, and that's a good story to tell as well.
Yeah, and to that end, and certainly well beyond that, the Center for Black History that just opened up in Newport is something well overdue. NewportBlackHistory.org. They're not a sponsor of the program or anything. I'm just throwing that out there because it's an
But
incredible.
they are partners with us in RI 250, and we're thrilled that they're our partners.
Yeah, it's an incredible operation. And what was that like for you in terms, because you just referenced that? Look, let's be honest about it. We all observed. We went through a number of different things. Columbus statues here in Providence. Look, I was there when the crane took the Columbus statue away, right, and brought it eventually to Johnston. And now, there's a million different examples every single day of people claiming that revisionist history is woke culture, and they're just not willing to reconcile with reality. And yet sometimes there are opportunities to just walk in and do that. How important to you personally was this particular partnership, and in general, telling a just story?
Yeah, I think you can't teach American history or talk about American history without talking about all of it. And I'm always impressed with and by the way, we could name 150 people who all made an effort to force America to live up to the values and principles articulated in the Declaration of Independence. And for the most part, those folks were Black. They were former slaves or were the children of slaves. They were indigenous people who made the case that, you're telling us that we are free, that we are equal, that we are all endowed by our Creator with liberty, but you're not living up to those promises. And Martin Luther King did that. That his famous speech at the foot of the Lincoln Memorial is really asking Americans to live up to that magnificent second paragraph that Jefferson wrote, that Adams influenced, that we all share as an American birth certificate today. I think that's something to celebrate. The fact that it was intended to reach only a certain segment of society, and America, over the course of these 250 years, has grown and expanded those opportunities based on that second paragraph. If you don't know the negative story, you can't celebrate the march toward a more perfect union.
Super well said. Could not agree more with that statement. And I think that almost recording what you just said right there and having it available for an audio drop just for everybody on their phone when somebody starts kind of going nuts about what now is just a completely outdated mindset, but unfortunately still comes up. That a lot of the work that the 250 and many other historical organizations are doing is woke nonsense. We'll put it that way. I mean,
Well,
this
I
feeds.
think I agree, and it's funny because if anybody were to attend one of the Liberty Tree plantings that we are doing, and the communities have done a great job of organizing around those Liberty Tree plantings, or any of the places where I speak on behalf of the 250 Commission, I would challenge anyone to question the patriotic tone that is a part of my remarks and part of the commission's efforts. We are celebrating the Declaration of Independence, but we are also acknowledging where we have fallen short over the course of these last 250 years. And we're asking Americans to live up to those principles, those values that are articulated in that document. We should celebrate that document. It is the most important political document in world history. And the way it has been interpreted over the course of time, the suffragists used it as their calling card to gain equality through the vote. Abraham Lincoln referenced it continuously during the Civil War, talking about rededicating the nation to the principles of equality. This is something that we can celebrate because we have been able to move off of the original intent of white, wealthy, landowning men only having influence in government. And I don't know anybody who disagrees with that. That is an American principle.
Completely agree. It's as American as it gets. Secretary of State Gregg Amore, Rhode Island 250.org. That's where you'll find a lot of resources, obviously links to all the events. And I was stunned to just click right now on the merch store, which includes Rhode Island 250, a lively experiment, tote bags. Get them before people hear this radio/podcast and it sells out. Secretary, thanks for your time.
Cool stuff. Cool stuff. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.